Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome back to the International Financial Management class. Today is our second lecture of International Financial Management. The topic we will discuss is the international flow of funds. Dear students, due to the weakness of internet system in Afghanistan and cost of internet system in Afghanistan, I summarized your lecture into 9 to 10 slides. I have also prepared the Word document file in which I have written all the materials regarding today's lecture. You can simply download it from your WhatsApp group. I will share in WhatsApp group. Dear students, let me start with the chapter objectives. Today we will discuss only two topics, which are first is balance of payment and components of balance of payment, and second is the international flow of funds, influenced and economic factors and other factors. Let me start with the balance of payment. The balance of payment is a measurement of all transactions between domestic and foreign residents over a specified period of time. Balance of payment is a very famous topic you have studied in the last semesters, such as in economic subjects. You are familiar with the balance of payment. It's a measurement of all transactions between domestic and foreign residents over a specified period of time. It means in 1 year. We calculate the balance of payment in 1 year. Each transaction is recorded both credit and debit. It means we record in double entry bookkeeping. If you remember the accounting books, accounting subjects, there was a topic of double entry bookkeeping. The credit side and the debit side. Every transaction has both sides of credit and debit. So these are the balance of payment is also recorded as a double entry. The transactions are presented in three groups: current account, capital account and financial account. These are also the components of balance of payment. The current account, the capital account and the financial account. These are also the components of balance of payment. First comes the current account. Current account summarizes the flow of funds between one specified country and all other countries due to the purchases of goods and services. Simply, if you purchase goods and services from the foreign countries, they will be recorded in the current account. If you sell your goods and services in the foreign countries, they will be recorded in the current account. So current account is simply the recording of goods and services which are purchased in the foreign countries. The foreign countries due to the purchases of goods or services, the provision of income on financial assets, or unilateral current transfers. For example, government grants, pension funds, and private remittances. These are the parts of the components of current account. The current account is commonly used to assess the balance of trade. When you want to balance the trade, you can use the current account, which is simply the difference between merchandise exports and merchandise imports. Before I told you, when you want to sell your domestic products in foreign countries or domestic services in foreign countries, or you want to purchase the products from the foreign countries or the services from the foreign countries, they will be recorded in the current account. So balance of trade is simply the difference between the merchandise exports and the merchandise imports. Next is the capital account. Capital account is the new form of financial account. New form. It was defined in 1993 by System of National Accounts and the 5th edition of IMF. Balance of Payments Manual. which is adopted by the US in 1999. Next is the financial account. Sorry, capital account also includes the current transfers. They are rarely shift in assets, not in current income. For example, debt forgiveness. Debt forgiveness is recorded in the capital account. Transfer by immigrants. Immigrants in muhajirin. Immigrants transfer is also recorded in capital account. In capital account, the sale or purchases of rights to natural resources or patents are also recorded in the capital account. Next is financial account, which was called the capital account previously. It is old form of capital account. Summarizes the flow of funds resulting from the sale of assets between one specified country and all other countries. What are these assets? Government assets, the direct foreign investment or foreign direct investment, which we call FDIs, and investment in securities. The organizations which invest in the foreign securities will be recorded in financial account. The foreign direct investment is also recorded in financial account. You better know about the foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment is the capital flow. Next comes the international trade flow. You better know about it. Different countries rely on trade to different extents. The trade volume of European countries is typically between 30 to 40% of their respective GDP, while the trade volume of US and Japan is typically between 10 to 20% of their respective GDP. So the volume of trade has grown over time for most countries. The trade agreements around the world. In 1993, a General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, which is called GATT, accord calling for lower tariffs was made among 117 countries. There are a lot of other agreements, which are Association of Southeast Asian Nations, European Community, Central American Common Market, and North American Free Trade Agreements. These are all agreements which works for the international trade flow. International trade flow is helped by all these associations, all these agreements. Next, factors affecting international flow. Factors that are affect the international trade flow are inflation, national income, government restrictions, and exchange rates. You better know about inflation. When the inflation is a persistent increase in the price level, it's called inflation. When a relative increase in a country's inflation rate will decrease its current account as imports increase and export decrease. Second is national income. A relative increase in a country's income level will decrease its current account as imports increases. Next is the government restrictions. A government's restriction may reduce its country's imports by imposing tariffs. You better know about tariffs on imported goods, or by enforcing a quota. You also better know about quota. Sometimes, though, trade restrictions may be imposed on certain products for health and safety reasons. Next comes the exchange rate. Exchange rates are also affecting the international trade flow. If a country's currency begins to rise in value, its current account balance will decrease because imports increases and exports decreases. Next topic is international capital flow. International capital flow usually represent portfolio investment or foreign direct investment. Portfolio means investment in different stocks of the different organizations in foreign countries. So this is a portfolio investment or foreign direct investment. Simply you can flow your capital from one country to another country. The foreign direct investments position inside and outside the US have risen substantially over time, indicating increasing in globalization. The globalization increased the foreign direct investment of US. In particular, both FDI position increased during periods of strong economic growth. When there is economic growth in the world, the foreign direct investment increases. Why? There is a stable economy in the world. Every country's economy is stable. If there is financial crisis, economic downturn, then FDI will not flow. Capital will not flow. So this is called international capital flow. Next topics are the agencies that facilitate international flows. There are a lot of international agencies that facilitate international flow. The first is International Monetary Fund, IMF. With IMF, you are familiar. IMF is a organization which is formulated, established in 1946 with 183 member countries. Its operations are vast. There are a lot of operations which International Monetary Fund does in their organization. Its operations involve surveillance and financial and technical assistance to the countries. Its compensatory financing facility attempts to reduce the impact of export instability on country economies. The IMF uses a quota system and its unit of account is SDR, Special Drawing Right. The IMF has a lot of aims. First aim of the IMF is to promote international monetary cooperation and exchange stability. The next aim of the International Monetary Fund is to foster economic growth and high level of employment. And the last aim of the IMF is to provide temporary financial assistance to help ease imbalance of payment. The next is the World Bank Group. World Bank Group, established in 1944. The group assists development with the primary focus of helping the poorest people and the poorest countries. This is the main aim of the World Bank Group, which focus on poorest people and poorest countries. They provide assistance to the poorest countries. They help them. It has 183 member countries and is composed of 5 organizations, which is written below: IBRD, IDA, IFC, MEGA, and ICSID. These 5 are the parts of World Bank, the main organizations of the World Bank. The first is the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD. It's better known as the World Bank. IBRD provides loans and development assistance to middle income countries. Its structural adjustment loans are intended to enhance a country's long-term economic growth. Next is the IDA, International Development Association, was established in 1960. That is an agency which lends to the very poor developing nations on highly concessional terms, very deep discount terms. IDA lends only to those countries that lack the financial stability to borrow from IBRD. Countries which cannot lend from the IBRD, they lend from the IDA. IBRD and IDA are run on the same lines, sharing the same staff. Headquarters and projects evaluations are standards. The same standard from the same line, from the same sharing the same staff. So these are all the IDA's components. Next comes the IFC, International Finance Corporation, which was set up in 1956 to promote sustainable private sector investment in developing countries. They work in developing countries, financing private sector projects, helping to mobilize financing in the international financial market, and providing advice and technical assistance to businesses and governments. Next comes the MEGA. MEGA was created in 1988 to promote FDI in emerging economies by offering political risk insurance to investors and lenders, helping developing countries attract and retain private investment. Next is the ICSID, International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, which was created in 1966 to facilitate the settlement of investment disputes between governments and foreign investors, helping to promote increased flow of international investments. Next is the World Trade Organization. World Trade Organization, which was created in 1995, is the successor to the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, which we studied before, we discussed about the GATT. It deals with the global rules of trade. Global rules of trade between nations to ensure that trade flows smoothly, predictably, and freely. At the heart of the WTO's multilateral trading system are its trade agreements. World Trade Organization functions are included in the administrating WTO trade agreements, serving as a forum for trade negotiations, handling trade disputes, monitoring national trading policies, providing technical assistance and training for developing countries, and cooperating with other international groups. Next is the Bank for International Settlement, BIS, which was established in 1930 as an international organization that fosters cooperation among central banks and other agencies in pursuit of monetary and financial stability. It is the central bank and lender of last resort. So the lender of last resort. There are a lot of functions of BIS, a forum for international monetary and financial cooperation, a bank for central banks, a center for monetary and economic research, an agent or trustee in connection with international financial operations. These are the agencies which facilitate international flows. Thank you so much, dear students. This was our today's lecture. I hope you got my message. I hope you understood my explanation. If you have any question regarding today's lecture, you can simply text me in WhatsApp group. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Have a good time. Have a nice time. Thank you so much.